just explain to me, what's the thing, what's wrong with plasterboard? What sucks about plasterboard?
Yeah, so it kind of hit me when I was sort of working on a building site that sort of sat there, and each plasterboard you're charged to get rid of as a contractor, and in the UK that can be like up to 250 quid a ton.
Right.
And I sort of did some research into this because I was studying a master's at the time in sustainable architecture, and I sort of did some research and I came to learn that plasterboard is not only a reducing resource because it either comes from the ground from a raw feedstock gypsum, which is a reducing feedstock and harder to get at, so it's coming out in lower purities. But secondly, it comes from synthetic gypsum. It comes from coal-fired power stations. Okay. So you've got like one of the second most widely used building material, which is plasterboard, after concrete. And the main feedstock for it is reducing from the ground, and also probably going to be reducing from coal-fired power stations.
Right.
So I sort of thought, right, okay, well, there's got to be another solution to this. So I used to live in a van, and it would be a bit of a dirtbag, and I read a book that kind of changed my perspective on things a little bit, well, massively, really.
What book was that?
Book written by Yvon Chouinard, called Let My People Go Surfing.
Yes.
Story of a reluctant businessman.
Yeah, no.
And I'm sure some of your listeners will know it.
Yeah.
I read this living in a van, climbing California, and I was like, when I find an idea, I'm going to really, if I can find an idea, I'm going to really try and use business to be a force for good and demonstrate a kind of positive way. There's no point me, like, I can live on the fringe of society, and kind of go, well, that's sort of rubbish and whatnot, but wouldn't it be great if I could find an idea that I could use as a vehicle to kind of use business to change for good?
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 years later, through a circuitous route, I came to set up Adaptavate, and that was like where I could find this vehicle to change the construction sector. Fundamentally, in most of what we do, we are taking on a massive conservative industry, and we're saying that you can grow stuff and put them into better materials, and they can be compostable at the end of their life.
Yes.
And they can do better for you. Instead of just doing a job, they can actually add value to your health and your economically by saving you energy or whatever it might be, or your maintenance bills. I think we're just disruptive from the start. Like when we look to hire people, or I look to bring people into our team, they are typically people that look at things in a different way. And that's both, they look outwardly and they look differently, and we challenge things in that environment, but also within our team, like we challenge one another. And that's really important because there is no well-trodden path. A startup company that work in the construction materials sector.
Yeah.
We essentially develop, we positively disrupt the material flows in the construction sector. So we think about things in a different way. So instead of make waste a linear material flow that's typically associated with construction materials and materials broadly, we sort of try to close that loop a little bit by growing renewable materials that are taking crop wastes that are wastes that are used for food crops, taking them, putting them in high performance building products, and then they're also compostable at the end of their life, so they can go back to grow more renewable capital, and that way it kind of closes the loop and creates a cyclical material flow. We have an alternative to plasterboard called breatherboard, and we also have an internal plaster called breather plaster and they can be standalone products, but they can also be form a compatible system.
Right.
And they've got some pretty cool benefits, which we can get into later, maybe.
Okay. So this is really environmentally friendly products that you're creating here in an industry that typically hasn't been environmentally friendly.
Yeah, I think that's where it started from, Dean. But basically, what ended up happening is, as through the process of learning from the market, we actually moved our messaging from broadly environmentally friendly to actual performance of materials.
Right.
Because whilst our products are sustainable and green and and all those sorts of good words and they're ecologically sound and conscious, actually the market sector that gets that is very small, and to have a wider scale impact, we actually felt it important to communicate to our users and installers and specifiers the actual performance benefits of our products. Okay. And that enables us to talk about it and enter parts of the market that we wouldn't otherwise be able to enter if we were just to talk about environmental benefits. So we are performance products that lead to healthy, energy efficient homes that are also environmentally friendly. Okay,
so you got best of both worlds then.
Yeah.
Okay. So without giving any trade secrets away, how do you do that?
In terms of the products that we offer? So, Breatherboard, I used to be a builder, and we, I saw the big problem with plasterboard, and really I found it really important to design a product that could, not only outperform the incumbent in the market being plasterboard, but actually for it to be completely, drop-in alternative. Right. So our Breatherboard product is designed to be installed and used in exactly the same way as plasterboard, because that minimises the barriers to use on site. Right. From the guys and the ladies that install it on building sites. And then secondly, our Breather Plaster product is an easy to use internal plaster. But both products really have value propositions or benefits that are not just sustainable. So they're acoustically insulating. Right. They are thermally insulating. They're lighter weight. Yeah. They absorb moisture, so they reduce this problem with mold and damp that we have in a lot of the buildings, certainly in Europe, but also in other territories as well, the markets as well. So it's important. Oh, and the other thing they do is absorb VOCs, so volatile organic compounds. So things like formaldehyde that's released from soft furnishings and composite wood products and things like that in our cleaning products in our homes. They absorb those and sequester those to make a healthier, energy efficient internal environment.
What advice would you give somebody who is either starting out a business or perhaps even in a large corporate, who wants to use the power of business as a force for good? What lessons have you learned? What would you advise them?
So, first of all, start. You have to, there's a phrase which is, like dog has ideas. Ideas are great, but it's making them happen that really kind of changes stuff. Yeah. So if you're driven by change and impact, then you've got to start. So that's probably point one. Point two is assemble a really good team around you and get people who challenge you, who don't sap energy from you, who feed you, because then you can create a flywheel effect and really start to get credible people around you. Yeah. You can really start to change an industry. And they can be people that in the start aren't actually necessarily directly part of your business, but they're helping you give a really key perspective, whichever perspective that might be that you need. Yeah. But there might also be people from completely different industries that actually help give you a different different take. And I think the third thing is it's either persist. Yeah. Because it's not necessarily easy. We're on year 4 now. So persist is one, but I think communicate with clarity what you want to do is also probably point 4. Right. It's always key to when you're getting something off the ground, try and really distill it down to what you exactly what you need.
Right. Well, Tom, it's been really brilliant talking to you. Really appreciate your time. I wish you. I wish you all of the success. It's really great business, great cause. Inspirational story, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with people. So
thanks very much. Thanks
let's stay in touch, and I look forward to hearing you achieving your successful destination.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Go well. Thanks a lot, Tom.